So I moved up from Stevenage in '79. I worked at Stevenage office before I came here, and in Durham before that. But that's when I was given this LP, because somebody says, "Oh, you'll like this," because I've spent my life starting things. I started a dance team called Stevenage Sword Dancers, who sadly their demise is this winter. They've decided to pack it in, and you know, this just led. It was a natural chain of events to actually look at this. I hadn't realised there was a connection until I was looking around Peterborough for a house to live in, and when I drove across the Wash to Whittlesea, I saw the road sign Whittlesea. I thought, where have I heard that before? And I went back home to Stevenage and scrabbled through my long playing records, and there this popped up, and I looked at that and I said, first of all, we're moving to Whittlesea, and secondly, I'm going to revive a straw bear. And a year later it was on the street. Hello, I'm Brian Kell, BEM, and I think we'll talk about that later. And I am the founder of the revival of Whittlesea Straw Bear and the dancing out of straw bears in January. And I came to this town in 1979, and we took a straw bear out on the street in 1980. My introduction to straw bears was via this long playing record by Ashley Hutchins called Rattlebone and Ploughjack, and it features on one side Cambridgeshire dancing traditions, i.e. molly dancing, and it also mentions about a straw bear being taken out in Whittlesea, being led around the town and being banned by an overzealous inspector of police because he viewed it as being cadging and begging, and of course in Victorian times begging was illegal. So I moved to Whittlesea and decided to revive the straw bear, and I went along to the Whittlesea Society and I suggested to them it might be a nice idea if we had a straw bear again on the street. And they said, "Oh, what a wonderful idea that is. Go away and do it." And that was as much information as I had. I had a clue of how to make it, how to build it, what it did, where it went. So everything just came out of my head. And the Whittle Society in the first years of the event were extremely supportive to our ideas and our objectives, and we got on really well. But like lots of things in organisations, there was a little disparity between how things should proceed, and we decided that it may be better if the society and straw bear element split, and we formed the Whittlesea Straw Bear Festival, and we moved away from the umbrella organisation of the Whittlesea Society. However, we still remain good friends.
So maybe you could talk about the oldest records of the straw bear and what it was like in its first incarnation.
Yes, the oldest records that we know about is Sybil Marshall's book Fenelon Chronicles and Enid Porter's Folklore of Cambridgeshire, and they are references to straw bears. I've spoke to Sybil Marshall once about before she passed away, about the straw bear going out, and she couldn't really remember too much about it. It was just something that happened around about Plough Monday time, which is the first Monday after 12th night. And the rest of the information was really quite scant. There's the reference to Sir James Fraser's Golden Bough, and the fact that it was Sir Harry Smith's nephew who wrote to St James Fraser to tell him about the straw bears, and these were the only written records that we have. There is a little bit of written record about the Ramsey straw bear, but a lot of the times basically it's been newspaper reports at the back end of the 1800s, and depending on the foresight of the writer, whether it was supportive or whether it was derogatory, and you've got quite often two different views of the same event, depending on whether a person supported it or didn't. So I didn't know really what the town's reaction would be, because I think my underlining view was that it might have been banned, and it could have been banned because the town people didn't want it.
And this was in 1909?
Yeah. And yes, it was the beginning of the beginning of the last century, and I suspect fundamentally it was the First World War which stopped them taking straw bears out, because there was no men to go out and be a bear or take it round. And then when the guys came back from that dreadful war, then there wasn't the impetus to revive it. There was one reference to it being revived in 1930 when the Straw Bear pub was opened. There was somebody dressed up as a straw bear then, and then I came along, and we started it all in 1979, and the first time out on the street was 1980. But there was no tune. The bear didn't dance. He just shuffled around the town, followed by 3 dance teams, basically.
And were you the first bear?
Yes, I was the first driver, and I drove the bear for about 10 years. And then I was called quite categorically that if I was organising something, I shouldn't be in the bear. And it's had its ups and downs. I remember, I think it was about the 3rd or the 4th time we did it. I decided I wouldn't drink beer on the day because I had to get undressed to go to the toilet. I would drink whiskey instead. Wrong, because the Morris teams all heard that the bear was on whiskey today, and I came out of the ram and immediately fell over. And I had to be carried back to the marketplace, left in a big heap under the Buttercross, and then taken back to the Ivy Leaf Club after the proceedings finished, and I slept it off lying on top of the straw bear that day.
So I mistakenly said that you were the bear, but you were the driver of the bear, weren't you?
Yes.
Can you explain that, please?
Yes, the driver of the bear is the person who gets inside the costume to give it mobility. But everybody who has been in the costume that I know of, and I've spoken to I've spoken to everybody from the Whittlesea point of view, say as soon as they get into the costume itself, the alter ego takes over, and it's like the bear takes over, and they are not themselves, they are the bear, and they're just giving it mobility to dance along the street and attack young ladies and things.
It sounds kind of shamanic. It sounds like something that goes back thousands of years, where the shaman would take on the spirit of the animal.
Yes, yeah, it does feel like that. Although I haven't investigated that particularly theological view on life and icons in general. But it is uncannily peculiar how there is just a transition, and if you have someone who's quite demonstrative, they become very quiet, and somebody who's very quiet and shy all of a sudden bursts out it's rather strange, and it's this facade, it's this protection that you have in front of you. The little girl that tried the costume on yesterday in our garden, she's been a bear a couple of times, and she really got very upset when we were doing the fitting because it was uncomfortable. But as soon as she got the head on, she just wanted to dance around the garden. It was really, really strange, and it was just like there was a switched. It was, and you know, I'll stand by it.
So are there any years that stand out for you between 1980 and now?
To be quite frank, they all merge into one, but there are elements in the whole of the time. The fact that we actually took a straw bear to Germany to meet with their straw bears, and it was practically a self-invitation. We found out that the group of people in Waldern, in Oldenwald, have a straw bear. And we got in contact with them and said, we're going to come and see you. And they said, oh, no, you're not. We're coming to see you first. So they came in a 42-seater coach and drove all the way across the continent. They arrived on the Friday afternoon and they went back on the Sunday. And we followed suit that year, but we took a week over it because they had the facilities of a very good youth hostel there. And we just spent the whole week there, and it was fabulous because it was their carnival. But they build the bears differently there. They actually tie the straw to the body as the person stands there. And they start at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and they build the bear around the person. And the Waldern people literally wire the straw on a very fine gauge wire. So at the end of the day, when they've got to get out, they have to cut them out. They can't get out of the costume. And we decided, or I decided, that I wanted a prefabricated costume, so at least the driver could get in and out if there was a need. And we can change drivers as well, which we do halfway through the day.
Are there any health and safety concerns?
The biggest health and safety concerns is actually people trying to set fire to it. But that's never happened, not in the last 40 years. I got in a situation whereby one of the pubs we visited early on had an open fire, and because of the crush in the pub, I was shuffled to one side of the room, and suddenly I felt the backs of my legs getting very hot, and suddenly realised I was standing extremely close to this little fire, and it was only a small fire. It wasn't a great big, burning log thing, and I had to very quickly move away from that. But we take with us fire blankets and fire extinguishers and everything, just in case that that some clown decides he's going to put a light, and it would have to be a lighter, if you know what I mean, to actually get the thing. It wouldn't just burst into flames. And we also have plenty of people around us whose their job just to make sure that something silly like that doesn't happen.
So maybe you could talk about the way the pandemic has affected the festival. So 2020 was a normal year, wasn't it?
Yes, the 2020 was the 40th anniversary, and we had 40 dance teams on the street. So by very, very simple mathematics, 40 dance teams, 10 members to each dance team, and there was more than that. You're talking about a considerable amount of people, 400, 500, perhaps 700 people actually involved in the dancing side of things with musicians and things like that. And we've had representative all aspects of British traditional dance at the event. Something which would never have been seen 100 years ago.
You get people from all over the country, don't you?
Yes. and we have a waiting list of teams that want to attend. Uh, and I think one of the nice remarks that one of the teams said to me uh, a few years ago now, they said the thing they like about coming to Whittlesea is that we're actually dancing in the street, and we can hear the sound bouncing off the walls of the buildings around us, and you're not in this great big wide open space. So the whole thing is a sort of self-generative from an atmosphere point of view, and it's fairly unique in that respect. That we close the streets to traffic, and it's dance teams and dance teams. It's brilliant.
But that wasn't possible in 2021, was it?
No. We decided in the back end of 2020 that we were not going to be able to have a gathering on the streets. It was just about the first lockdown, and we knew that things were going to get pretty bad, which it did. And then in that January there was a government decree of a lockdown. So in order to put the straw bear out on the street, we went out on Christmas Eve. We didn't tell anybody. He came out of one door in the house, along the street, and into the other door. He was actually on the street for about 5 minutes. And then the family of the house that we used, they had a little burning on the Sunday afternoon for to seal it, the whole event. So we did go out. Technically it was the year before, it wasn't actually on the year, but that was that winter's bear. And if you liken midwinter events, they stretch not just for a few days over Christmas. They start beginning in the middle of December, and they go all the way through to Shrove Tuesday in some instances. So it was a little bit of poetic license, but that was the license. But we did take the bear out and take him down the street.
And people were able to watch online, weren't they?
Yes, and this was important. And again, last year we took the bear out again, but again we didn't tell anybody. And we came out of this person's house and along the street, and I specifically had photographers taking pictures along the route, but nobody knew except for the few people that were involved. We went to the marketplace, we danced around the marketplace, and then came back again, and I think we were probably out on the street for about an hour at the most, but we didn't make a general announcement to anyone, because we didn't want to be accused of causing a blip in infections from the virus. But we felt it was absolutely essential that we did turn out. And that year we went out on the Tuesday after Plough Monday, which is the traditional day that the straw bear went out anyway. So, we got that, and everybody had a lovely time.
And so it's coming back in 2023, and it's going to be as it was before. So are you expecting it to be a special year this year?
I think whatever happens, it will be special. There's been a tremendous amount of interest on the internet about it. And the only major difference is that we will only have 20 dance teams. We have on purpose reduced the number of dance teams and basically said that we're not going to look for new dance teams to come. We will just go on the ones that our friends that have been coming for years, if they so wish. And that is the circumstances that we are. There are a number of teams that have asked us to come for the first time, and we've just politely declined and said no. We'll look to inviting you another year, but not this year. Let's just try and see how well we can manage the situation in these times.
So you introduced yourself as BEM earlier. Would you like to explain how that came about?
Yeah, so I was awarded the BEM about, I can't remember, about 6-7 years ago, for services to music, dance, and folk music and dance and education, which came purely and simply out of my work reviving Straw Bear and the following years. And I didn't know, you don't know about it. You don't know there's been an application made. It's made by the people who are supporting you, and they write the accolades, if you like, for you to get the presentation, to get the thing. And the first thing you find out about is a letter comes through the post and said, would you like to have this award? And even at that stage you can decline it if you wish. But I wouldn't have done that because it would have not been very nice for the people who had actually applied for it in the first place, because in some respects that was nothing to do with me. I know I was the one that got the award and I was the one that did the work over the years, but they were the ones that actually said, we think Brian should have an award. Yeah, so I got the BEM, British Empire Medal. Was awarded that in Peterborough, at the City Hall in Peterborough, and then I attended a garden party at Buckingham Palace, which all the current award owners attended, and also went to a service in St Paul's Cathedral, which was really nice.
So how did it feel to be honoured like that?
I mean, being a working class lad from County Durham, it was quite an eye-opener really that I could be considered for something like that. And I just wish some of my not so nice schoolmasters, I could actually rub their noses in it now, because I was a ne'er-do-well when I was at school. And I'd like to say, well, yeah, all right then, what do you think about this then?
Could you tell us, sort of on a day-to-day basis, what happens across the whole festival? So maybe you could start about when the suits are constructed and that whole process. Right.
Okay. We've built straw bears now in a variety of ways, and up until before the pandemic, we actually built at events around the town, around the county. We would go to shows and we would build the straw bear as a part and parcel of showing people what we do and how it's done. And it was a good way of advertising the event, and also it was a good way to actually get people involved building the straw bears. Prior to that, it was always done in my garage on a Thursday night in the back end in the autumn, once we'd got the straw in, and we used to have a little gathering once a week and we'd build straw bears. I think we drank more beer and put the world to right more than actually did any building, but you know, it was a good social event. But this year it's been even more different because I've built the little bear effectively on my own in my garage, and another two of the guys have worked up in a lockup, and they've made the big bear. And fundamentally, the construction, as you've seen, is very basically the same, either the big bear or the little bear. It's just the length of arms and legs really that are different. So that's how it all starts. At the very beginning, I used to get straw from an exhibition at the East of England Showground, and that was the start. I would go and acquire the corn growers display, if you like, and bring it home. Now we get straw from a variety of sources, and local farmers help by allowing us to go in. We cut it by hand because combined straw chops the straw up, and it isn't usable after that. We've got to have it full length. Even though the straw nowadays is a lot shorter than it used to be. And really, the rest of the time it is planning. Attending safety advisory meetings, making sure that things are in place for what we're wanting to do, and making sure that we've dotted the T's and crossed the I's as far as the government, the local government, are concerned, and getting a road closure order out and doing this sort of thing. All of that has to be done prior to the event, obviously within good time.
Are they cooperative, the local council?
Oh yes, yes. I mean, they see our event as being one of the premier events of the year in the area, and also, of course, it is the first. After Christmas and the New Year, you draw a line there and you start again. Straw Bear's right on the turn of the year. It is, the new beginning, the new looking forward with optimism.
Sorry, were you going to say something?
And basically, it goes on from there. But prior to that, of course, the construction of the festival has happened in the same way over the last good number of years. We put traditional performing arts in schools on the Thursday and the Friday running up to the event. Junior schools, and on the Friday the senior schools involved as well. And these can be anything from storytellers to musicians to street theatre groups, a whole variety of things. And we tour around the junior primary schools for 2 days beforehand, taking people around it to entertain the children. On a Friday, we've got a gathering in the Ivy Leaf Club, which we used to be very much a concert, but we're trying this year to broaden it a little and have what we would call a ceilidh. Now, a ceilidh is a Gaelic expression that means come dance and sing, and it's a combination evening of song, music and social dancing. So we're trying that this year because we're not having a barn dance on the Saturday. The bear goes out on the street at 10:30 on the Saturday morning, and he goes back to bed basically at 3:30 in the afternoon. From then on, it's finished, and we have a ceremonial burning of the bear on Sunday, but that's a private event.
So what does the burning signify?
The end. Doesn't signify anything. It's not the Wicker Man, for goodness sake, or anything like that. You can smile. No, and there's no connections to, strange mystical rites and all this sort of thing. I suppose nowadays it would be better if we actually reverted back to the original way of disposing it and taking it down the local council tip and put it in the skip. At least it gets recycled that way properly, and we don't burn holes in the ozone layer. I remember one of my friends standing watching the burning on the Sunday, and it was a wonderful sight and everything else, and he turned around to me and he said, "Well, that's another big hole in the ozone layer you've created, Kell."
So it's just a full stop. That means it's over for the year.
Yeah.
Okay, and what would you say the festival means to Whittlesea?
That's an interesting one. I think it's an identity. It is just a celebration, and everybody out and about, just having a nice time, having a good time. All right, there's alcohol. You can't avoid it. I mean, you go to all the major events in this country and there's always alcohol somewhere along the line, whether you're really posh or, or whether you're just going to the local football match. They always go down the pub afterwards, and all this sort of thing. So I think it's just a social gathering. It does attract people back to the town that used to live here or have moved out. The parents are still here, and they've moved away, got married and had families of their own, but they always come back. And this is the big complaint I get from the parents, who are grandparents, because they say they can't go out and enjoy Strawberry because they've got to look after the grandchildren. It's all in good humour.
So how do you think the Strawberry fits into British folk traditions in general?
That's a good one, that's a good question. Because basically, if you take off the bits that I've added to the event, just the bear on the street was demanding money with menaces. In other words, you're stopping people on the street. We've got the straw bear here coming out. I want some money now, please. And it is just the same as a lot of other things that we do, like bonfire night and Guy Fawkes night, and and Halloween. Not trick or treat, Halloween, because I went out as a child at Halloween. Trick or treat, I never even heard of the term. And there are a variety of things. There's carnivals in the West Country, and it just fits in with a tremendous number of similar events from around the country, where people just are getting out and about and enjoying themselves. And there's a little bit of, if you like, spirituality about the thing. You go to Padstow and they're very, very serious when their hobby horses out. You go to you go to the northwest and they're very serious when the nutters go out, or when the horn dance goes out. So there's elements of tradition throughout the whole of the country which a lot of people perhaps don't even know about, and it's just something that you do every year.
So is it important to you that you're keeping an old tradition alive?
Oh, I think so. I've got little doubt that it is important, because it's simple entertainment. It's nothing complicated. It's nothing electronical. It's nothing, dare I say it in front of a camera, it's not on film. It's something tangible. It's something you can actually touch and experience. I think one of the things that struck me, I mean, I didn't drive the bear now for about 10 years, but basically the last time we were out en masse at the 40th anniversary, we had 3 big bears, and I was one of them. I was a granddad bear. And I was quite surprised, because I'd been told that this happened and I didn't believe it. But people want to cuddle it. And they want to come up and embrace, and then they'll pinch a bit. They'll steal a bit out of the costume. And you'll be going about your business as a straw bear, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, there'll be a tug. And you turn around and somebody would walk away with a lump of straw in their hand, because they wanted a bit of the bear. They wanted a slice of the action. They wanted a bit of the pie. And that I think is part of the accolade of the event itself.
So what plans do you have for the future, and are the younger generations interested in keeping this tradition alive as well?
Well, we've got some very good my son, for example, who is the present director, actually, it was fortuitous, because he's very computer brain orientated, and so is his wife. and we have a couple of people who are very computer oriented. So when the pandemic hit, that was really important that we did things virtually. He's director this year because we have a 3-year term definition on the directorship. So he will get an opportunity to be on the street and experience the event live, as it were, which I think is quite important. He has been a straw bear, but he's never been in directing proceedings, if you understand what I'm saying. So we have got one or two, but like every voluntary organisation in the country at the moment, we are really, really struggling with people who can get up and do. I mean, I can't do what I used to do anymore because of the arthritis in my knees. So I'm not going to be in the procession this year. I'm just going to be out on a road barrier and taking pictures. You know, and I think we have to accept that we need the 2030s to come in and look at what we're doing and say, how can we help? And it doesn't worry me because whatever happens, the event will condense to suit the workforce that we've got.
So, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I've probably rabbited on enough, actually. Well, you've got me on my favourite subject, you see.
Did you want to show us the wheelbarrow?
Yes, I'll show you the wheelbarrow. This was made to me the year I fell over. This was made by a lady who sadly is not with us now. And it's a corn dolly of a straw bear in a wheelbarrow. And she made this the year after I fell over after consuming too much whiskey. And I had to be taken back to the Ivy Leaf Club, and they used a sack barrow which they got from the museum to transport me back. So this was in commemoration of that fateful day that the bear fell over. And I love her to bits. And she was an extremely skillful corn dolly maker, and she used to come up regularly to the event and put on a stall at the event and this sort of thing, and made absolutely fabulous stuff. And she actually gave me a complete costume of straw bear made from single pieces of straw stitched together, because she said that one of the reasons why I fell over was the straw bear costume was too heavy. And I wouldn't have dared use this. I think we used the head, because the head was on a frame on the shoulders. No, it was on a hat. That's right, it was on a hat, like a cycling helmet type hat. And we did take that particular hat to Cecil Sharp House in London to dance at one of their events representing Cambridgeshire, and we took that down. So the head danced out, but the rest of the costume, I wouldn't dare even try it on, never mind wear it down the street, because the thing would just disintegrate, because straw is so brittle. And with it just being single strands of straw, there was no substance to it. At least this now it's chunky and it's meaty, and it does last a little longer than half an hour.
That's great. Well, thank you very much.